Have you ever wondered why the headlines are filled with stories about ultra cheap Chinese electric vehicles, EVs, that are supposedly poised to dominate the global market? Is this narrative, which seems to echo everywhere in the media, as alarming as it is accurate? The answer, as you'll find out, is more complex than it appears. Let's dive into this topic and unravel why this narrative has gained so much traction, what's truly behind the prices of Chinese EVs, and how it impacts the global market, especially American consumers. First, it's essential to understand where the idea that Chinese EVs are ultra cheap comes from. The media often cites examples like the Wuling Hongguang mini EV, which costs about $4,500 in China, or the BYD Dolphin, which enters the European market at approximately £26,000. Compared to Western models like the Volkswagen ID.3, priced at around £30,000, the price difference seems significant. But here's the problem. This comparison is simplistic and often misleading. When you analyze similar models in terms of size, performance, and technology, the price difference between Chinese and Western EVs usually ranges from 10% to 20%, not the 50% or more often claimed. So why does the media persist in painting such a distorted picture? One reason is sensationalism. Headlines like Chinese EVs at €10,000 versus Western EVs at $30,000 generate clicks and engagement, even if they don't reflect reality. Moreover, there's an interest in creating a narrative of global competition, where China is portrayed as an imminent threat to Western markets. This not only grabs attention, but also fuels debates about trade policies, government subsidies, and future leadership in the automotive sector. But as we'll see, the reality is much more nuanced. Let's start by examining the factors that allow Chinese manufacturers to offer EVs at more competitive prices. The first and most obvious is government support. The Chinese government has heavily invested in the EV industry, offering generous subsidies to manufacturers and consumers. This not only reduces production costs, but also encourages mass adoption of electric vehicles in the domestic market. Meanwhile, in the United States and Europe, subsidies are more limited and often subject to political changes. Another crucial factor is manufacturing efficiency. Chinese companies benefit from economies of scale and a comprehensive supply chain. China is the world's largest producer of lithium-ion batteries, a key component for EVs. This means Chinese manufacturers have access to high-quality batteries at significantly lower costs than their Western competitors. Additionally, labor costs in China are much lower, which also contributes to more competitive final prices. But here's a point that is often overlooked. Chinese EVs aren't just cheaper because China has lower costs. They are also designed to be economical from the start. While many Western automakers focus on luxury or high-performance EVs, Chinese manufacturers are producing vehicles that meet the needs of the average consumer. This includes compact models with sufficient range for urban use and basic yet efficient technologies. This approach allows them to cut costs without sacrificing functionality. However, this does not mean that Chinese EVs are ready to dominate the global market. There are several factors limiting their expansion, particularly in Western markets. One of these is reputation. Chinese brands still lack the trust and recognition that traditional automakers like Tesla, Ford, or Volkswagen enjoy. For many consumers, purchasing a Chinese EV remains a leap of faith, especially when it comes to reliability and long-term resale value. Another challenge is market barriers. In the United States, for instance, tariffs and trade restrictions make it difficult for Chinese EVs to enter the market at extremely low prices. Additionally, there are infrastructure concerns. The EV charging network in the US and Europe is still under development, and consumers may hesitate to purchase a vehicle from a brand that does not have an established presence in their country. Then there is the issue of quality. While Chinese EVs have significantly improved in recent years, there is still a perception that they do not match Western models in terms of finish, performance, and advanced technology. This perception might change over time, but for now, it remains a substantial obstacle to global acceptance. Now, let's consider the impact of this narrative on the American market. The idea that Chinese EVs are ultra cheap and poised to dominate the global market might seem alarming. But the reality is that competition is far from being an existential threat to US automakers. In fact, competition can be beneficial, driving innovation and cost reduction. Tesla, for example, is already responding to Chinese pressure with more affordable models like the Model 3 and the upcoming Model 2. Moreover, the US government is taking steps to strengthen its domestic EV industry. President Biden's infrastructure plan includes significant investments in public chargers and subsidies for electric vehicles. This not only helps consumers, but also supports American automakers in the global competition. So, what does all of this mean for you, the consumer? First, it's essential to look beyond sensationalist headlines. Yes, Chinese EVs are generally more affordable, but the actual price difference is often more modest than portrayed. Additionally, there are other factors to consider, such as quality, reliability, resale value, and the availability of support networks in your country. Second, competition in the global EV market is increasing, and that's a good thing. It means more options for consumers, lower prices, and accelerated technological innovation. If you're thinking of buying an EV, now is an excellent time to explore the available options, whether from a Chinese, American, or European brand. Finally, it's crucial to question the narratives that dominate the headlines. The idea that Chinese EVs are ultra cheap and set to dominate the global market is largely exaggerated. The reality is more complex and less alarming than it might seem. Competition is intensifying, but it's not the apocalyptic scenario that some headlines suggest. So the next time you see a headline about ultra-cheap Chinese EVs, remember to look beyond the sensationalism. The truth is that the global EV market is evolving rapidly, and there's room for all players, as long as they offer quality, innovation, and value to consumers. In the end, that's what truly matters.